Hello, 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 and welcome to Women's Wisdom Wednesdays, where we come together every Wednesday to empower women just like you, foster connections, and thrive on our journey of surviving womanhood. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, and her name is Annelies Gentile. And she has an incredible story to share about the joys and challenges of adulting without children. But before we introduce her, let's take a moment to address our lovely audience. We want to remind you to visit our website at www.survivingwomanhood.org, where you can find valuable resources, connect with other like-minded women, and stay updated on our upcoming episodes. We want to take just a moment to congratulate ourselves on completing today our 12th episode of Women's Wisdom Wednesdays. So Bianca, well done. Annelies, it's wonderful to have you here for this milestone.
Thank you so much, Kasey. It's great to be here.
Thank you. And we are doing our podcast and our Facebook Live episodes in a series of 12. So after today's episode, our podcasts are going to be available, and Bianca will tell us in just a bit where you'll be able to find them. All of our 12 episodes will be available for replay. And if you haven't listened to them, you can listen to them for the first time. We're going to take 4 weeks off, and we'll be back with our next series of 12 beginning on October 4th. And we are so excited. And we want to thank you all for staying with us and being our loyal fans. We love what we're doing, and we couldn't do it without all of you. So thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. So also, we encourage you to actively participate. We want you to ask questions, add comments, and if you have a story to share, we would love to hear it. This is a safe space for us to learn and grow together. I'm Kasey Conrad, well-being specialist and whole life coach, and my lovely co-host.
Hello, I'm Bianca Cartin, and I'm a business and mindset coach.
Thank you. So now, let's meet Annelies. She's an integrative life and leadership coach, speaker, process artist, and author of From Chaos to Calm, Leading Change from the Inside Out. And thank you very much. This is lovely.
We always need a visual, even though it's a podcast. There it is.
It is beautiful. Thank you very much. And this is an invaluable guide to resilience for leaders seeking sense, solace, and sanity in our rapidly changing world. So, Annelies, is there anything else that you would like the people to know about you?
I'm glad to be here. I really appreciate the connection. I've known Bianca for many, many years. We know each other from our Dubai days in the early 2000s. And when she told me that she was starting this podcast with you, Kasey, I said, this is very interesting, and certainly a subject that I have been gently, silently tending on my own. So it's interesting that there's a conversation around this, and I'm sure there's many opinions and experiences across the board. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. Thank you. We've been excited. We've been looking forward to your visit. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So again, we're so privileged to have you here today. We're sure that your journey will serve as an inspiration to many of our viewers and listeners. So let's begin with question 1. Can you share some of the challenges you've encountered during your life's journey, and you are moving through the world on a road less traveled, choosing a life child-free? How have you managed to find strength and resilience through this process?
Thanks for the question. I think I have to start with the why in the first place. And I'll say that when you all sent me the questions, I was struck by my own response about being childless, because I think there's a difference between childless and child-free. And I didn't have a choice. My body didn't produce children. And I didn't realize this until sort of looking back at different partners and realizing some health conditions. And I kind of put 2 and 2 together, and that was confirmed. There were many times throughout the years that I considered doing something about that, but I was not in a financial place to be able to do so. And then had some very emotional conversations with my husband about being a foster parent or adopting, and adopting was out of the question, and being a foster parent just wasn't in the cards for us financially. We both work for ourselves, and we're both in still a place of growing, even though we're in our over 50 years of age. And that's because we had a lot of changes that were also outside of our control, where I became caretaker to my parents as they aged, caring for my father until he passed away as a primary caretaker. And I really didn't realize how much emotion was behind this for me, literally until this morning. Like I've been very emotional about it, but I've tucked it in tight, deep inside my soul.
As we do.
Because there's really no place to discuss it with others unless you're in that place. So this was an interesting invitation, and I certainly was fascinated by what's come up for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bianca?
Yeah, so for me, this is a topic. I feel like I'm wandering through this journey from a place of choice, perhaps. So it maybe does feel very different. And I don't know, Annelies, if you're willing to share or able to share some of the things that came up for you from your perspective when you were considering the questions we were asking and things like this. Is there poignant things you look back on that you see very differently now that you're at this age without children?
Well, I mean, it's very loaded in that, again, I've had to agree with the way my body has been. I've had to make peace with it. And I don't think I have. I really don't think I have. I don't know if I ever can. It's not my fault, but it's not anything I can do anything different about at this point. I pour myself into my business as my creative act. I pour myself into my niece and nephew, which seems to be the only thing that gives me great solace. Everything else feels like I'm role playing. Everything else feels like I'm just making shit up to navigate the world, because I don't seem to have that primary sense of family. And a lot might have to do, like if I compare it to other people who don't have children, maybe they have a strong friend network. I've lost my friends due to death, disease, suicide. So any circles that I would be truly close to I are no longer there to support me. So as I age, it's actually more disconcerting that I don't have that family orientation. And your primary question, Kasey, was asking about resilience. I think resilience is a part of the human condition. When we don't have what we think we're going to need, it doesn't matter, because you have what you need to manage. And I've poured myself into being caretaker for others, for like I said, my parents. My mom is 80. And so she needs some tender care. Right after I finish this podcast, I'm going to sit bedside with a friend whose mom is in hospice and she'll probably die today. That's the way my life has evolved, as someone with a big heart whose nurturing wasn't poured into my own direct offspring. The way that I think I can be okay with it moving on is, I feel like although we're in the best time in history to be human beings on this planet, it's also potentially the most dire to the human species, with rise of AI, climate change, social inequality, overpopulation. So I feel like there's this tiny thread of okayness that I'm not producing into this place where there might not be enough to be able to support. Because I'm naturally resilient and naturally have found myself in this place of otherness compared to so many other people that have connections, either, and I mean like familial connections, not just having children, but familial connections, uncles or grandparents or cousins or those types of things. I don't really have any of that. So I'm very much like a monk in the world. And my work is living into my life in a way where I can be of service, and not to be a parent to one or to two, but to be nurturing such a parent could be to all I come in contact with, because that feels like the best use of me with what has been offered.
Thank you for sharing so deeply. We do greatly appreciate that. And I'm sure those out there listening also appreciate that. What I'm hearing from you is that although you did not have your own offspring to nurture, it seems like the universe in general has put those opportunities in front of you. With your parents, but also with friends who were ill or dying, or in the case of your friend or friends who committed suicide. I'm sure there was some point before that you were part of their life and helping them along in some way. And I think that I love the way that you frame that resilience is, these weren't your exact words, but that resilience is human nature, that we all have that. And I'm going to expand on that a little bit. Tell me if this is agreeable to you, that this is part of our survival. This resilience is part of our survival. And I love that you've said that. However, I'm going to say that everyone doesn't use it to the same advantage that you seem to have used it. You take that resilience and it seems like you then give it back. Like you come from this place of resilience and then you give back in a nurturing way to those around you who might need that. And I would like to applaud that. And I would also like to point out, having experience with thousands and thousands of humans along my life's path, that is not necessarily the norm.
I'm aware of that as a coach. I'm very much aware of that. Yes.
Yeah. So I love that you say that and that you allow that to everyone. So thank you for that. And is there anything else you'd like to say about that piece? Like what was it that in you, or how did you find that strength to use that resilient piece of you to get to where you are now?
How do I use the resilience in me to get to where I am today? I think is a constant walk in integrity. You have to know who you are. You have to know what your gifts are. You have to know what pain has poked you and your eyes of your soul and your intellect wide open. If you don't know this, then you miss the roadmaps. And the irony is that, although I've had many chapters of loss and transformation, even from an early age. I mean, I remember being spiritually awake at the age of 6 and had a very profound experience that let me know I'm not who I think I am, and I'm part of a much wider web, whatever that is. But the irony of being here on this podcast with Bianca is that she witnessed one of my tearing openness times where, chaos knocked and I got hit wave after wave after wave after wave. And I just questioned, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to manage this? And the truth now, as someone who could look back and language the pain and the resilience, is that you don't manage it. You develop skills for witnessing, and you develop skills for adaptation, and you develop skills for acceptance, and you develop skills for creativity. And that's how resilience shows itself. It doesn't just open up one day, but in hindsight, you look back and you see the amplification of how you've grown through challenge. And being childless or child free, which have two very different definitions, what matters is, what do I do with this worthy life that I have? And orienting myself to family and to children is one way, but that's not my way, or else that would have been true for me. So I am available because it's a much better use of myself than not being available.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Bianca.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed about Annelies right from the very beginning, and one of the qualities that I admire so much about you, Annelies, is your creativity. And it's something that when I first met you, it was very alien to me and things like this. And you're so open and have this creative flair, and you bring it into the world so beautifully and in so many different ways. How has that helped you along this journey? And how has that evolved over the time as well? Has that been a resource for you of coping, or a research source of almost expressing through your modalities of creativity?
Absolutely, 100%. And I agree with you that you thought I was weird, or maybe that creativity was weird.
I admired, because it was such, at that time I was in awe of it. It was so right. You could see, it was like you saw, we were in the same place and we even lived together, but you saw things in a way that I didn't. I still have several pictures that you took a photograph in the sand of a
spiral, yeah.
And the other part was you took a picture of the turrets of the house that we were in Chathering, and I realized we were in the same place, but you were seeing it differently to me, and I was really in awe of that. I was like, oh, I'm not seeing that in the same way. Like I've got to adjust and learn. Perhaps there's more to the eye, and that's what you taught me.
Thank you. You taught me too, certainly. Your playfulness and sort of my favorite term that I learned from you was itchy feet. Bianca would say, oh, I'm feeling bored. I've got itchy feet. I've got to do something. I've got to do something fun. I've got to go travel.
And maybe that's my way of expressing and managing the way I deal with through life, because if I was to look back in my life, I've certainly taken even some quite long periods of time to travel and exercise my itchy feet around the world. And maybe that's my form of creativity, but yours is so different and so profound. And you use that in your work as well, which is really interesting. So do you find that as it has grown over time and it's been a good outlet for you?
Absolutely. I think it's been medicine. And I teach this for my clients as well, that we are by nature as human beings, creators. And we either forget this, we're never taught this. And I find it to be my responsibility to live from that place, to remind people that we are creators. We're active, creative beings all the time. And when we're moving through life so fast, we're trying to check the boxes or achieve the next thing, we miss the seeing and the being. We don't have to do, but we are being asked to be present to more of the world and the spaces around us. So chaotic breaks and things that didn't go my way, and not having a family to tend and shape certainly has sort of blown the walls wide open for me to be so much more available to what's around me. And I mean, I do witness in my clients that do have children, the compressed nature that they have to manage in, that are held together by schedules and commitments and social assumptions that I don't have. So I, in a way, that's where the child free, I have this nebulous way of being. The creative process, I have learned by studying it and understanding it, that it's a tool to manage mental health, physical health, spiritual health, the way that I relate to others with my language, with my ideas, my vision, my future. Creativity is the core of relating to ourselves as human beings, as spirits having a human experience. So absolutely. And it's in my book. It's actually in the 3/4 into my book. I talk about the power of the creative process and why it is so important to navigating adversity so that you can function as a brilliant being that we are.
Wonderful. Well stated. Bianca, is there anybody who have any questions for Annelies?
For me, then, is what advice, Annelies, from your if a woman's going through a similar experience where she perhaps has learned that it's not possible for her to have children, for instance, is there now, with hindsight and with the experience you've had, advice that you could give women in a similar situation, and strategies perhaps that could help them on that journey of acceptance of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good question, and it's a brass tacks question that I didn't know until I know. So for those who can't see me and are just listening to the podcast, I'm 49. And I will say that my crying in public places while looking at other people with children and strollers and going to birthday parties and graduations started in my 30s. I'd say even early 30s. And I kept wondering, when is it my time? When is it my time? And I thought, well, maybe it's because I didn't have the right partner. And then I got the right partner, but it still didn't happen. And I thought, maybe it's not the right time. And then I realized, because I had finally the health circumstances to help, to identify that this was an actual problem. So I'd say brass tacks. 1, you're not alone. 2, it might take some time to realize that this is a thing for your body. 3, if you can afford it, do what you feel like you need to do to fix it, if you can. 4, acceptance is a journey. I look at it like grief. And I'm a believer that grief doesn't go away, but it does change over time. And that's because you change. So I think not having children, if it's a chemical imbalance in the body for some reason, or maybe someone had cancer or something like that, or maybe they've never found a partner. I mean, I have someone quite close to me who's just never found the right partner, and so they're just getting older. So I think when it comes to this, is to accept the grief, is to actually just recognize that it's there and it's okay. You don't have to do anything. Just notice it's there, and it's showing up in all these little sneaky places that you probably aren't even aware of. But hopefully this podcast can remind people that you're not alone, and your family might look different as you get older. And to that, which is point 5, I can't answer that because I'm still trying to figure that out myself. Family will have to be redefined, and that might take a while.
Thank you. Beautifully said. I would like to ask you one more question. How has your journey impacted your perspective on life? You've given us some of that insight. And also, how does it shape your thoughts on the importance of self-care?
Well, I do think that in one way, I'm a professional self-care artist because I'm only responsible for myself. And I wrote that in my journal this morning, that, yeah, and I wasn't designed to only care for myself. I wasn't designed to be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being selfish, so I give a lot of myself away. I don't feel like that's a very good use of myself, to only tend to me. But self-care is hugely important. So whether you have children or don't have children, or going to have children, or watch someone else's children, we have to care for the child inside us. That little person inside of yourself. Like, if you don't have a physical parent, you are still caring for a spiritual being inside of yourself that's way connected to the past. And you have to pause and recognize that little person still needs tender love and care. And as you age, they don't really grow up unless you realize they're still there and they need a little care. So self-care for me is absolutely a daily practice. And I do get to go for a walk at 2:00 in the afternoon because I work for myself and I don't have to pick anybody up from school. So there are some positives about that as well.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, Bianca, do you have any other questions for Annelies, or anything you'd like to add?
I was going to ask Annelies if there are other self-care rituals that you do. You said you have on a daily basis that you use, other than walking.
Yes, I hula hoop for 10 minutes every day, first thing in the morning after drinking a glass of water.
Such fun.
Yeah. So I put my water on for my coffee.
Right.
I hoop in the morning, and I do what I call vertical dry swimming. And I do my swimming moves while I'm doing my hula hoop. And then sometimes I do weights and I do my mantra, and that helps me center and gets me focused. And that's my absolute commitment every day. Non-negotiable. Even when I travel, I'll bring my traveling hoop. And then I do my walking. I try to make friends with people with pools so that I could do the wet version of the swimming, because that's nice and important. I'm a mushroom forager, so I try to go into the wilder, unpaved places of nature to find the nuggets of growth, because I think nature is fascinating, how it gives birth to these little surprises. So I'd like to find, the baby surprises of nature and then eat them, which is fun. I hammock. We have 13 hammock spaces in our house, 4 of them inside and the rest are outside, depending on the sun and the amount of mosquitoes. So I always hang in my hammock to be suspended between heaven and earth, because that helps me feel held and it helps give perspective and it's calming for my soul. On occasion, we bike ride on the paths, and a paddleboard. So we have lakes nearby, and I love paddleboarding, because paddleboarding reminds me that I might not be able to walk on water, but to be balanced is actually to embrace movement. I think balance is bullshit, because it's not a stagnant place. It really is about little adjustments of movement constantly. So I'm always doing things that are testing my relationship to energy and movement. I hope that answers your question.
Being creative even with a hula hoop. See?
Yeah.
I want to say, are you doing this at the same time you're doing the hula hoop?
Yeah.
Because I'm very impressed by that.
Oh.
And I need to open the door, because for some reason my cat now has decided she needs to get in here desperately. So excuse me, everyone.
Go ahead. We can't hear your cat.
You can't?
She's very quiet. No, I can't,
yeah,
can't hear it
it's
all.
not very quiet here. So I'm not sure what her story is right now. But anyway, this is live, right? This is what happens when we're live. So I'm very impressed. My granddaughter introduced me just 2 days ago to a nifty little device that she has. It's a weighted hula hoop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a belt, it's like a belt, but you have to do the hula hoop, and there's a cord and a weighted ball on the end. So you have to do the motion of the hula hoop to keep that ball spinning. And I did it for like 5 minutes and was very proud of myself. I'm pretty sure I couldn't have done like the whole swimming thing. But now I'm going to work up to that. You're my inspiration for the hula hoop, because I've always loved a hula hoop. And, and now I can do it and say it's healthcare.
It's true. It is absolutely mental, emotional, spiritual. Yeah. And it's great for your core.
Yes, definitely. So thank you for that little inspiration. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Kasey.
On top of all of the rest of the inspiration that you have shown here today.
Thank you.
So I just want to share a couple of bullet points that I have taken from our visit today. And one of them is that, yes, self-care is important, and that the focus that you put on self-care feeds you holistically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that physically. So I think that's very important for everybody to keep that in mind, that self-care is not being selfish, that self-care is a health necessity.
Non-negotiable.
Right? Yeah. So, and I love that you say that your hula hooping is non-negotiable. It's something you do every day at home or away. And I think that we don't have enough of those. Yeah, there's my cat. We don't have enough of those things in our life that, we say, this is my time. This is for me. I'm going to make time for myself to do X, Y, or Z. and it's non-negotiable. So I really love that. And I love that other women are getting to hear that is not being selfish. That's taking care of yourself. So I like the distinction there. Also that what you're experiencing is ongoing. It's a learning process, and coming from a place of resilience, that looks different at different stages of your life, and depending on where you are, that you've had the opportunity to produce this amazing book because you've had time to devote. There you go. Yep. From calm to chaos.
From chaos to calm.
Oh, I'm sorry. From chaos to calm.
Not from calm to chaos. That would be job security for other people.
No, that's my life.
From chaos to calm. Leading change from the inside out. Available on Kindle, paper copy, and audiobook with my voice.
Nice. So we would like to actually put that into the comment section. When we're finished, we'll have that. And also we will put your website in there as well. So people know where to find you. And thank you. Yes, Bianca and I, side note, we're just having this conversation about my life from calm to chaos. So I think that was a little Freudian slip. So I apologize for that.
It's okay. Sometimes that's the way it shows up. The infinity. It's all the infinity.
Ride. Yes, it's been a fun ride. So, and so now I kind of would like to let you finish up by bullet pointing briefly what you believe it's important for other women to know and to take away from our time here together.
You're fabulous. Don't forget it. Share what you can when you can, and don't forget, self-care is non-negotiable.
Wonderful. Bianca, do you have any other questions? Comments?
No, I don't. I think as a person who doesn't have children myself as well, it's often, and I love the non-negotiable, because I find myself often thinking I should be doing more because I somehow feel like I have more time than those that are married and have their children and doing all those things. And I can often put other people and their time before my own. So that non-negotiable part, I think, is really, really important. I think mums struggle to make that time, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is those people that aren't mums also struggle with that same putting their time for themselves first as well. So I think that is huge for everyone to understand and for women to prioritize.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you. So let's take a moment to appreciate Annelies for sharing her inspiring journey with us today. Your remarkable strength and resilience are truly an inspiration. And we invite our viewers and our listeners to share their own stories. If you have stories that ring true to you, the way that Annelies' story rings true to all of us, please share them with you. Your stories are important. If you'd like to suggest future topics or future guests, women that you think would be good to come on our episodes and share their stories of survival with others, to be an inspiration, we would really appreciate that. We want you to actively engage also with our Surviving Womanhood community. Go to our website, www.survivingwomanhood.org. See what we have to offer. We are having an upcoming webinar in September to talk about your identity. Who are you in career, relationship, and who are you when no one's looking? So please have a look for that. And we're going to be bringing you more information on that in the upcoming week. And please remember to mark your calendars and join us for our Women's Wisdom Wednesdays. Our next episode will be on October 4th. And we are going to have a wonderful guest sharing her survival story. We'll bring you more information on that very, very soon. Annelies's journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of resilience. And before we wrap up, I want to extend just another heartfelt thanks to you, Annelies.
Thank you so much, Kasey, Bianca, for hosting and for continuing to share this sacred space for women on a journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Your story serves again as an inspiration to all of us. And please reach out to Annelies if you have any other questions. You can comment here on the Facebook page. You can send us a message or on our website or our Instagram. And we are going to provide you with Annelies's information. Maybe we can even get a photo of a copy of her book, From Chaos to Calm, and fill in
Leading change from the inside out. Yes.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
send you a picture. And my website is conduitforchange.com.
Thank you very much. So again, if you've been touched by Annelies's story, please leave us a comment, share your own experience. Your voice matters. It's important to us. We want to hear from you so we can learn and grow together. Again, remember, our next episode is going to be on October 4th, 12 o'clock Central Time US, 1 p.m. Eastern Time US, 6 p.m. UK, and 9 p.m. in the UAE. So thank all of you for being part of this empowering community. Let's face every challenge, rise above adversity, and support one another on our journeys of surviving womanhood. Until next time, see you there. Thank you, Annelies. Thank you, Bianca.
Thank you.